lavender on Instagram. I'll put it down below because there is an underscore and a one somewhere. And on Ravelry as Sweet Lavender 1. I'll put that down below as well. Thank you for joining me on the very first podcast. And it's going to be all about knitting and maybe some sewing and other crafts. Definitely some crocheting in there. And we'll see. I have this new passion brewing, and it's quilting. So we'll see where it takes us. For the very first podcast, I thought I'll just do a little bit of an intro, introduction to myself, who I am, where I'm from, and what I'm about, and show you some of the things that I'm working on right now. And we'll see. I hope this is going to be interesting to you. I'm not sure if I have anything different to bring to you because there's so many wonderful podcasts out there, and almost a new one popping up each day, or maybe more than one. But for me, this is a way of connecting with the knitting community. I don't have any knitters in my immediate circle of friends or family, and I really do want to reach out and be part of a knit night, and which I don't have anywhere close to me. So it's going to be a knit night for me, and hope you will grab your needles and your project, and maybe something warm to drink, and come join me in some knitting. So let's get started. Who am I? I am Christine. Like I've said, I'm a busy working mom, married with 3 kids, 2 teenagers and an 8-year-old. I work full-time, and my day job really, it takes a lot of my energy, even though it's a desk job. I spend a lot of time just doing things that are not very interesting. It could be at certain times, but not very interesting most times. I am the first to leave home. I'm the last to come home. So I get very little time to spend with my family. So I treasure that. And knitting is a way of relaxing. It's helps me to have my quiet time on the train in the morning, even though it's just a 20-minute ride, and get to work on a few rows on whatever project I'm working on. And I love that. I like it. And if I'm very stressed in the day, knitting helps me just bring down that stress level almost immediately, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. To me, knitting is all about the process and what I can learn about it, and the product is the bonus to that process. I have also knitted projects just for the product, and I can say that I've not enjoyed it as much, just knowing that I have to get it done, and and I have a timeline, a crunch to meet, and it just gets a little stressful for me. So I am all about taking it slow and knitting. So I'm saying all of that because I am not fast at knitting. And so my projects take me a while, like a pair of socks. And I do my socks on the train because it's a small project to carry. And so it usually could take me somewhere from 2 to 4 weeks to get a pair of socks done. And I know if I sat and just worked at the sock, and if I had all the time in the day to do it, I could get it done in 2 to 3 days, a pair. So it's just, it really is not about the product for me. It's about the project. And I just think there is a lot that you can always keep learning from the process of knitting, and it's got such deep history in it, and therefore there is so much to learn. So enough of me rambling on about that. I'm sure you're here to see some of my knitting, and I've told you where I'm from, what I'm about, and what this podcast is about. Why do I want to do the podcast? Simply because, like I've said, I don't have a circle of knitters around me, or a local yarn shop to which I can participate in knit nights, and this would be my knit night with you. So I don't know when you're watching it in the time of day, but I hope you enjoy what you see and what you hear, and hopefully if you are new to knitting, it'll inspire you to want to knit some of the things. My projects will not be I don't know. I don't think I'm a beginner knitter. I don't know if I could be an advanced knitter. I don't know what that calls for. But one thing I do know about myself is if I am an intermediate knitter, it's only because I am willing to try anything. It's okay. I make the mistakes and I don't mind. Don't mind keep to either plug on with some mistakes there, or to learn how to fix them, which is a lot of what I've been doing in the recent months. And I think that that nature of not I it's very hard to describe it. It's because I do have a bit of perfectionism in me, and that's why I don't mind ripping it out 3 to 4 times to try and get it right. But then it's also that that idea of you don't have to get it right the very first time is what keeps me open to wanting to try things that I've never tried before. Um, yes, so that's the way I approach knitting, is just, if I like something, I will just take it head on, jump in feet first, and see what happens. And, I have never abandoned a project because I it got too difficult for me. I have never abandoned a project because it got too difficult for me. I have abandoned projects, but it's mostly because I learned the technique and then I was like, oh, okay, now I know that. And then, that was it. The rest of the project didn't appeal to me, maybe. Or because I've had to do the same pattern a few times, and I tend not to repeat patterns. It might change. I mean, there might be a project that I would really love that would want me to have to knit it over and over again. I don't know. So let's see. What else can I say? That's just the way it is. And okay, I have to say something. I know that there are lots of knitters out there, and when I watch their podcast, they are very put together. I use and those kind of sounds, and I hope it doesn't bother you too much, because that's my way of thinking things as I speak. And I did it again. So I can't help myself in speaking, even when I just normally speak, not in front of a camera. I tend to do that. So please bear with me. And I hope it isn't too off-putting. Anyway, so I guess I'll start with some of the projects, and we'll see. Maybe I'll do some more chatting in between. We'll see how it goes. So first up, finished objects, and I keep looking at myself. I'm recording this on my iPhone, so I keep looking at myself, but I'm trying not to, and I'm trying to look at you, but it might also come off as me staring, which I'll try not to do. So first up is my finished object that I've completed about 3 weeks ago. That's blocking and weaving in all the ends, and I wore it to work one day as well. And I have to say, I didn't well, I loved the project while I was knitting it. Okay, so like I said, I have to enjoy the process of knitting. That's more important to me. So I loved the project, the pattern while I was knitting it. It was wonderful, but I loved it even more after wearing it. And it is a garment. And once I wore this on and I wore it to work, I knew why I had knit it. It was just as cozy as it seemed to be, and I loved it. Okay, enough of that. Let me show you. It is the Campsite Cardi by Alicia Plummer. That's the neck, and I will just move it up. You're getting to see the back, the inside of it, but there, and it goes into this eyelets that increase, and there's a ribbing on the bottom, and it's a long sleeve with ribbing at the end. So what can I tell you about this? I love it. It's got no buttons or anything, no closures. It's meant to be worn open, and it's got this wide button band that runs all the way around. I don't know, band, neck band, button band. I'm not very technical with things, okay? So I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. So there. The only alteration I've done for this pattern, oh, actually two things. First, I lengthened it by doing a few more rows with each segment of the eyelet. So there's this first stocking stitch part, and then it starts into the first bit of eyelets, which are slightly far apart, and then they go closer together in the second bit, and then closer, much closer in the third bit. So there are 3 segments here. I did all 3 segments, and with each segment what I did is I did 1 extra repeat, and I might have done 2 at the end, I can't remember, just so that I could lengthen the cardigan. I like to wear my cardigans just till it's under my bum, so it's covering my bum. And cardigans for me are very much like security blankets. I would wear them in the summer if I could. Unfortunately, here in Toronto, the summers are pretty hot and not cardigan weather, not even sweater weather. So yes. Oh, and the other thing is, I switch words all the time, just to let you know. I like calling these cardigans, but I also call them sweaters. I'll call the pullovers and jumpers. I mix that too. I say scarves. I don't know what else I say for scarves. I call that something else as well. So I'll be switching words all the time. But I'm sure you'll understand what I'm saying. Okay. So yes, let's stick with cardigan. Did I tell you what pattern this was? This is the Campsite Cardi by Alicia Plummer. Wonderful pattern. Sorry I don't have it to show it to you. I don't print out my patterns as much as possible. First, it's environmentally friendly, and the second is because I just put it on my phone, and I have it there with me. I have my phone with me almost all the time, so it's easy for me to refer to, and it works. It works well for me. I'm okay with that. So yeah, and it is a very, very easy pattern to follow. There are charts, and I like to follow charts if there are both. I can't remember if there were instructions or not. Probably were. But I follow the charts, and these charts were very simple. Like, you just needed to look at it maybe for 1 repeat, and then you know it. So yeah, very, very easy. I love the way it fits it's very snug on me, and I like the way it flows. It's just perfect fit, and that's why I like garment knitting, is because I'm mixed sizes, so it's very difficult for me to find commercial cardigans that fit me well, because I have very small shoulders, but because my upper arms are bigger and my bust is a little, I would say, more on the large than the medium. I don't know how to say it. So my shoulders are very small. So when I get commercial cardigans, or like any garment really, even the blouses, they tend to come off my shoulder. Like even this one here, you can see my t-shirt. It's off just so that the rest of it fits, and my hips are wide. So yeah, I'm blessed. All right, so there. The other alteration that I did, or the other modification I think that I did to this pattern, was because of my upper arms, I needed to modify that and have some increases in the upper arm. So I had to work out a bit of math for that, and then I decided what I wanted to do is put in some stitches, like a little bit of an increase, a center stitch, and then another increase on the other side. So it created a little bit of a pattern in the beginning until I reached the number of stitches that I needed, where I could then continue with the pattern. So when I got there, I thought, okay, you know what, this little I'm not showing it to you there. This little bit looks nice. It looks like a raglan. No, I'm not showing you the right thing there. Right? You see, it's a little bit more pronounced than the raglan increase that the pattern has. So I just created this lacy pattern, and it follows all the way down the sleeves. So if I wear it on, just to show you, there, I have that going down the arm all the way to the end. And there. And I like it. It goes all the way down, and this is where it sits on my hand, which is perfect. I like that. It covers the small of my wrist, and then it just goes into my arm. Sorry, my hand. And I like that, and it's a perfect fit. Look how it fits. It's really nice. So I've accommodated for the largeness of my upper arm. And yeah, so as soon as I finished this cardigan, I knew I needed to cast on another cardigan because it is so nice. Oh, one more thing. Let me tell you what the yarn is. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at this. Just bear with me. It is, I have here 2 skeins left actually. So I bought 5 because I wasn't sure of how much yardage will be needed with the modifications that I needed to do, and I got this yarn at Knit City 2016 in Vancouver. My husband was very nice enough to treat me for a birthday trip to Vancouver just for the weekend, and I timed it for Knit City, and we were there just for that, and that was amazing. But anyways, I picked up 5 skeins of this yarn. It's Black Cat custom yarn, and it's on the everyday sock base, and the color way is called Clockwork. It is 80% superwash merino and a 20% nylon. I love this yarn. It is very nice. I don't know if you can see it too well. I hope you can. But beautiful, like the stitches are beautiful and even. Oh, okay, so there's another thing. I know most of you with hand-dyed yarn and would alternate skeins. I did for the part up until we got to separating the sleeves. Why did I say we? It's me. Okay, till I got to separating the sleeves. And then I hated that. Like just, oh, it was like, it's like doing color work, you know, and strands everywhere and the yarn twisting and just, I don't know, I don't enjoy that. So then I thought, you know what, using the technique in uh, Find Your Fade, I did that. So I just thought, you know what, it'll look like a faded sweater, and basically one into another, and it's fine. I don't see anything wrong with it. I used up what was left of the initial 2 yarns for both my sleeves, and I always hear others talk about how much they hate sleeve knitting on their podcasts. I have to say, if you don't already know this or if you've never heard this before, I usually with raglan sweaters, I've done 4 maybe, so not a lot, but some. And I don't enjoy sleeve knitting very much too. So what I do is I get them out of the way. So when I hit the part where I need to divide for sleeves, I instead of putting the sleeves on holders, I put the body on holder and of course one sleeve on holder, and I work off one sleeve, work off the other sleeve, and then go on to the body. And then to me, especially when it's about to start into a pattern, then that's when the excitement starts. And once I'm done with the body, I'm done. Then I just, well, in this case I needed to do the band and, you know, bits, but I'm done with the structure of it. So yeah, if you've never tried that, try it. Maybe it'll make it a little less painful and a little less boring. That's just my tip for you. So that's my finished object, and I have been talking for 20 minutes or so about that. Sorry, it takes me long, but I do ramble. I am chatty. I'm chatty, and it's so weird that I can actually do this in front of a camera because I am extremely camera shy. Maybe not. I don't know. But I am definitely camera shy if someone was behind that camera. Let's say that. So we'll see. All right, the next thing I want to talk about are my works in progress. But let me just take a sip of my tea before that. Oh, this is so weird. Drinking tea in front of you guys. To me, tea is almost like a sacred thing. I cannot go through a day without tea at certain times of the day. So it might be a little bit of an addiction. I don't know. I like my tea warm, hot, where I could hold the cup and enjoy that, but I won't drink it. And then I like it when it starts to get a little between hot and warm, and I will drink it when it's warm and finish it up. I don't like cold tea. Nothing fancy. This mug is probably the cheapest mug you could get, and it means so much to me. It's a very precious mug because my son, my 8-year-old, who was 6 at the time, used up all the money he could get out of his little, thing where he keeps his coins, and had to run all the way to the people's house who had a yard sale to pick up this mug for me. And he brought it home and he said, "Mama, I bought you something." And it was $3. I didn't care because it was the most sweetest thing ever. So that's just a mug. There you go. All right. Oops. Let's shift the camera. Sorry. All right. Next thing is my my train knitting. So maybe, I don't know, if you've ever seen me on the train, the next time, please come say hi. I have seen a few people knit on the train, but no one on a regular basis enough to, you know, have a chat with and knit with. So, and if you don't want to chat, that's fine, but you know, say hi, and I won't mind at all. Anyways, here's my bag. This is a little sock size pouch that I made. It's just a drawstring bag with some leftover yarn fabric that I had, and nothing fancy. It's just got a dark blue line, bright blue lining underneath. And yeah, I think I wanted to try out drawstring bags, and that's why I did this. So there is something I'll show you, and as a person who sews, it is very embarrassing to show this to you, but I will anyways. I even used up a bit of the selvage. I didn't care. All right. So this is my sock knitting, and I guess you could say this is a half-finished object. I don't like saying HO. So yes, and this is it. It's a very simple sock, no pattern really. 2x2 ribbing. Let me just put that yarn in there. Yeah, 2x2 ribbing, and then I did 3x1 ribbing, and I did it as a broken rib all the way down just to add a little bit of interest, so you can see that break in the rib all the way down. The leg is longer than I usually knit my socks because this one is it's a gift for my mom. My mom already knows this, so Mom, if you're watching, you already know that. And here is the second of it. So I usually knit my socks concurrently, where I start off with the rib and go down the leg and stop, do the same with the other, and then do the heels for both, and then go back and do the foot for both, and then finish up with the toes for both. That's usually the way I do my socks. The reason being that I have tried 2 at a time, and as much as I think it's really great about doing 2 socks at the same time and finishing them together, I didn't enjoy having to do the rib and separately and then put them on and then take them off again to do the heels separately, put them on again, and it was just, I think at some point one pair of socks started off as 2 at a time, and after the heel I just never bothered putting them back on, and that's when I started to do my socks concurrently, and that works out much better for me. I tend not to have second sock syndrome, thankfully, so I know that if I've done one, I just have to get the other one done, and I don't have so many projects on the go. But I always have one sock project. I have one of each kind, let's say that, each type of project. So this is my heel, and I'm doing an eye of partridge heel, and heel turn. Well, yes, here you can see better. A partridge heel and a heel turn, and in a contrast color. This is part of mini skein bundle that I got from Loop in London, and I don't remember what it was, but it's somewhere. And so I just took the one yarn that I needed. My mom is not into like flashy colors or anything, and she is very conservative with her colors, so I try to make these socks a little interesting for me because the pattern is pretty, like you don't have to think too much about it. So I chose a yarn that was self-patterning, and it is the Gumi 50 by Berger de France, and it is a lovely, lovely base. If you've never tried it before, you should. It's got 75% virgin wool and 25% polyamide. And there it is. That's what it looks like, and I don't cake it up. I just knit right out of it, but I use the center and I pull out of the center. That way it works out. I bought my first, I bought my first set, two skeins, because these are, what do they call them? Skeins? Ball yarn? Yarn ball? Whatever it is. I bought two of these in London over the summer when we were there, and that was my knitting on the flight back, as well as after I got home. It was a ready sock to knit, and I loved it because I'd heard so many podcasters talk about it, especially Julia. Hi, Julia, from the Happy Knitting podcast, and I really loved the colors that she had, except I don't know if I don't know if it was there or if I just preferred to the one I did pick, and I really liked the base once I knit it. So when I got home, I was like, oh, I should have taken more, because and I got it on sale as well. So they had some kind of a promotional going on at the time. And we have a Berger de France that they wholesale out of Montreal or Quebec, somewhere in Quebec. And so I've bought from their website a few times. So when I went on there just to look up how much would it be in Canadian dollars and what they have or whatever, they had on a really good sale, 25% off, or I don't know what it was, or maybe more than that. So I ended up getting 5 pairs of Gumi 50 in different colorways. And I thought, you know what, anytime I want to just go down to, I don't like doing vanilla socks, but at least the ribbing is nice, a little bit of interest. So I could just use one of these balls, and they're self patterning, which is nice. All that for a pair of socks. Okay, so there you go. My preferred method of heel knitting is the fish lips kiss heel, but once in a while I do like to change it up. I like to use different heels and different toes, and I've tried toe up socks, so different things, like just with each pattern I try to change something up. So this was to try out the Eye of Partridge, the whole thing, and you can see on when I started off I didn't quite get it, so I knew I had to slip knit, and I did that for every row, as in like every knit row, and then I looked at it and I thought, no, that's not how it's supposed to be, because that's my slip stitch heel. And then I just tried alternating it on the next knit row, and that seemed to work. That's where I got the effect of what it should be. I find it very difficult to read through words in like big sentences of instruction. I like things in point form, and I've heard a lot of other people say that. So if I were ever to write a pattern, I would just write it in point form. Boom, boom, boom. And it makes sense to me. It probably makes it easier for others. And for those who don't mind the wording, I'm sure you'll find the point form a lot easier too. So I think that's what I would do if I were ever writing a pattern. So there you go. That's just that. And then on this heel I did I did get it right from the beginning, so it looks nice. All right, so that's my knit sock knitting, and that I do on the train, like I said. The next up is my sweater knitting, and like I said, as soon as I finished that one, I wanted to start another one, and then I reminded myself, wait a minute, there is this one project I've had for the longest time, over a year, and I really should finish that. So it's in this bag. I love this bag. I got it from the dollar store, and it is just a mesh bag, and it's got a lovely zipper on it, perfect size to keep my sock knitting. It is flat. I'm sorry, not sock, my sweater knitting, and it is flat, so it sticks right into my tote that I carry to work. So sometimes I do take this to work too. Anyways, with all of that, I lost my mojo after a while of knitting on this. I started this last year. I don't even know when. Probably January 2016. It's almost going to be 2 years. Okay, but I have not been knitting on it for 2 years. So really just I started knitting it. Here it is. It is the Union Station cardigan, and I don't know who it's by, and I'll put that on the screen. So I started it. I got through the first chart bit that you have to follow all the way up until you separate for the sleeves, but I was so conscious of my arm fitting, my upper arms being larger, that I knit further than I needed to, and then I had to rip it back, and then I had to find out where in the chart I was, and all of that got a little too stressful for me. So what I ended up doing was to rip it all the way back to the neckband and then knit it again. And this time, after a little calculation, so I knew where to stop, and which I did, I took it off and put the sleeves onto scrap yarn. Now I told you that I always knit my sleeves first. This was 2 years ago when I didn't do that. So it was one of my first sweaters. No, not my first, but my second, definitely my second. So I took it off, I put it on scrap yarn, and then I started, I put in a lifeline, and I started to knit the rest of the cardigan. And then I thought, you know what, now it looks messy, and so I just put it aside, and I didn't feel like knitting on it anymore. The yarn is from Knit Picks. It's Wool of the Andes in the colorway Avocado. I don't know if I have, oh I do. Here. Knit Picks, Wool of the Andes. Colorway is Avocado. What says it right there? And it is a sport weight, which is just like a heavier fingering really. And it's 100% Peruvian Highland wool. It is not the softest yarn. I hope it softens up after washing, after blocking. It's not the softest yarn, but it's wearable. It's not too scratchy. I don't enjoy scratchy yarn, especially if it's close to my neck. But I don't think I'll mind it too much on my arms. And this is another one where it does not have buttons in the front, and I had chosen this pattern because I really liked how it looked. It was out of a magazine, I think Knit, where, I don't know what the magazine was, I can't remember, but yeah, I can't remember, but I really loved how it looked, and I thought it'll be fun. It's this chevron pattern that goes all the way till the sleeves are divided, and then it's just stocking stitch down the sleeve. The back is stocking stitch as well, but there are the two front panels. The chevron is continue just down the 2 front panels. And because right after I finished that sweater, I wanted to continue with another sweater pattern, I told myself I have to finish this sweater, and I can afford to make some mistakes and learn on the sweater before this other gorgeous pattern that I have. I will be starting that in the new year. So I'll tell you all about it when we get there. But this is my definite, how do you say, it is where I'm really practicing my process, and it is working out. I do there are days when I don't want to look at it and I just want to knit on something else. But there are days when I know this is what I want to knit, and I knit on it all day on the train and at home, and I enjoy that. My third work in progress is, I'm sorry for the noise, is the shawl. What's it called? It's by Vera Valimaki. It's not the Pure Joy. That's another one I do want to knit. This is, oh gosh, the name slips my mind. And I guess that's why some of you print your patterns, but I have it on my phone, which I'm using to record, so I can look at it right now. But anyway, I'll put it up on the screen. It's a shawl, and it's a garter shawl with some striping, and it's got and everyone's screaming at me, telling me what it is, because I've even put it on Instagram when I caked up the yarn. Anyway, this is yarn by Fond & Fiber. It is Sea Holly. I think it's Sea Holly. Oh gosh, I don't know, but it's very, very soft. It's merino and mulberry silk, and it is really, really soft. These are my colors: mauvish, pinkish, grays, and yeah, those are my colors. And I'm also using as contrast, I'm going to be using, this is going to be part of it, and I have to grab another skein of probably purple, and I'll show you as I go. This is another mini skein set by Fond & Fiber. It's her skeinlets called Victorian Secrets, and I'm going to be starting off with the lightest color and working my way to the darkest, so that it ties in with the third color. So yeah, that's my third. I really wish I knew what this is called. That is my third work in progress, and I did not take, I could have gone on and knit this because I started this last week. I just cast on Saturday, and I knit all of this in one sitting, really. And then I stopped because I thought, you know what, I could do a podcast, and because I've always been wanting to, and I wanted to show you the pack with the gradients in there before I took any of them out, and that's why I sort of stopped where I did. So those are my work in progress, and I think I've rambled on for enough today, and I really enjoyed this. This is more fun than I thought it would be, because like I said, I don't really enjoy, you know, being in front of the camera, but this is a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and for those of you who did stick to the end, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I look forward to doing this again and knitting with you. Thanks again for joining me, and until next time, happy knitting. Bye-bye.